What do you really need for your first triathlon? Hi and welcome back to Miss Runs the World. I'm Veri and today's episode is all about what do you really need for your first triathlon. You probably just thought, hey, I want to start a triathlon training, or I just randomly signed up for a triathlon but actually have no idea what it is all about. Then this episode is right for you, because this will cover everything you really need to have for your first triathlon. Disclaimer, this is for the short distances, so sprint, super sprint or Olympic distance. I will do another video for the middle and the long distance, but this is really a video for the newbies, for the ones who want to start their first triathlon journey. First of all, do you already have your inscription or not? Or do you just want to start a little bit with the triathlon training? Because if you don't have an inscription yet, I would highly recommend doing so, because the motivation will be much higher if you have a specific date for which you can work for. For example, I signed up for my first triathlon without knowing how to swim, since until that I was swimming like that all the time. And I haven't had a bike. Besides, I need to say I had how is it called? Like a city bike. I had a great city bike, which I used when I wanted to get to the metro. That was my preparation before I even signed up for a triathlon. Disclaimer, I directly signed up for a middle distance, but then quickly decided before that I should also do a little Olympic, just to warm up. Don't have an inscription yet, do one, because then we have a goal where you can work for. Great. So now we have an inscription, and now we need to think about what is the equipment we really need to have. And now again, this is equipment we really need. That is non-debatable, because triathlon in general, this is a sport where you can just take all of the money you earn and directly give it there. Because this can be such an expensive sport that it doesn't need to be. So for your first triathlon, it doesn't need to be super expensive. You don't need all the super great gear you've seen from other people, from the pros with their aero helmets and whatnot. You don't. Just don't. Because if you just want to do your first triathlon, your time doesn't really matter. It's just about finishing it. It's just about doing it. Then just stick to the equipment you might already have, or you can just afford very easily. Let's go into the disciplines and what you need for your first triathlon. First, we start with the swimming. And for the swimming, it's of course important you need some goggles. If you don't have the goggles, well, then it's gonna be super hard. So please buy them beforehand, try them out before. And this is actually very important, but I'm gonna do another video of that in the future as well. Which kind of goggles do you need? If you go on, I don't know, Amazon, you will find a lot of different goggles, but it depends on where are you training and where is your triathlon going to take place. There are different kind of goggles for different environments. Please keep that in mind and research that before you buy your first pair of goggles. Then, next step, you need a cap. You get one at a triathlon, but for the training, I would highly recommend already having one. They are not very expensive, but if you say, no, you don't want to, doesn't matter, you get them as well on the triathlon itself. This is actually an optional stuff. Then, of course, you have your swimmers, but I guess that is clear. And then you have potentially, and this is actually also very important, a wetsuit. When you sign up for your triathlon, keep in mind it could be necessary that you have to wear a wetsuit, but do you even have one? And please look what a wetsuit you have, because there are different ones. I have one for diving, which I can definitely not use for a triathlon swim, because they're completely different wetsuits. If you're 100% sure you will not need a wetsuit, great, perfect, then forget about it. But there is even the slightest chance that you might need one. Do yourself a favor, check that beforehand, try it out beforehand, because this is really something that could cause you a lot of struggle meanwhile swimming. Great, then let's go to the next discipline, and this is the biking, and the most expensive discipline you have, because of course, you need a bike. And this is also non-negotiable. But it is negotiable which kind of bike you're gonna buy. For me, it was clear that I would need one. I have my city bike. I later got into, I have a mountain bike, but still, I haven't had anything with which I could have done the triathlon. I bought a gravel bike. I did not buy a road bike. I bought a gravel bike because for me it was just a better use case, because I thought probably this is going to be a once in a lifetime experience. Why should I then have a road bike? Retrospectively, I should have bought a road bike, but that is another story. Think about, what bike do you have already? And could I potentially use that? I did my first triathlon Olympic distance with a gravel bike, and it was not a problem. My friend, she did her first sprint discipline with her city bike. It was also not a problem. The only thing you need to think about is, if you're not aiming, and this is important, if you're not aiming for like a certain time, if you just want to finish, then think about what is the bike you can have with which you can do the distance very comfortable. Of course, a road bike is better than having a city bike. Definitely. And that's why I also say we're here talking about the short distances, because you will definitely not want to do a longer one with a gravel or even a city bike. But if it's just for trying out your first time, maybe a gravel is doing it. That would be my advice. If you have a gravel, you don't really need to buy a new one. But if you're aiming for a time, you can just rent one. So what I always do, I trained on a gravel, and then I rented it for the competition. And the good thing about that was, well, I was feeling I'm super fast suddenly. And so this was also quite nice. Not perfect for sure, but just keep in mind, even for your currently, it's not possible for you to get like a super great road bike or whatnot, or you just don't want to, well, then just use whatever you have or rent one. Then, what else do you need for the bike? This depends, of course, as well on which kind of bike you have. Think about, do I have the right shoes? Am I going to cycle with the cycling boots, or am I going to cycle with my running shoes already? And then one thing, and this is actually completely non-negotiable, a good helmet, and I would advise you as well, good sunglasses. Why? Good helmet, I don't need to explain that, but please hear, this is something where I would really advise you to buy a good one, not secondhand, not something you found in your closet from, I don't know, when you were 14 years old. Please, this is something you should really invest in, because this could potentially save your life. And the sunglasses, definitely important, because you will have a lot of wind around you. You will have maybe mosquitoes flying, you will have sun, so protect your eyes from that, because otherwise it might be very uncomfortable to ride that long. Then we have everything for the bike. Then let's go into the next thing. Oh, one thing I would need to add here for the bike ride as well, please, a bottle on your bike. Even if you have a city bike, look that you can mount a bottle of water, because even for there may be aid stations, I would always recommend you a bottle. Then let's go into the next discipline. Next discipline is the running, and the running is luckily the discipline where you don't need anything besides your running shoes. I always recommend also a cap, because you never know how sunny it's gonna be, and you've been in the water, your sunscreen maybe is not there any longer, it's been a long day, cover your head from the sun. I would always recommend having maybe a cap, but this completely is up to you. Sunglasses, maybe I don't really like running with sunglasses, so I just use a cap. And of course your running shoes, in which you are very comfortable and which you can get in very fast, because transition. And then one thing that is also very important, and I would advise you, it's optional, but I would advise it to you, is the running belt. It is in a triathlon that most in the cycling, you have your number in the back, and then for the running, you will have it in the front. For this fast turn, you need a running belt. And also you're wet the whole day, you don't want to work with the needles and everything in transition. Please already have like a running belt. They are not expensive, and this will really save you a lot of nerves. This was the starting equipment so far. You see, you don't need that much. It is all possible. Also, my advice, secondhand besides the helmet, works perfectly fine. You don't need to go super fancy. And even for you come to the triathlon and then you see all the people having their big bikes, and I always say this is the most expensive catwalk in the whole world in a triathlon, because you will see all of these 10,000, 8,000 whatnot bikes. But again, you don't need that. You will not need that. You are starting a triathlon. You want to finish it. You want to be proud of finishing your first experience in this sport. There is no need for a fancy bike. There is no need for a fancy helmet or anything like that. Just enjoy it. Just make sure you're gonna finish it. Just make sure that you will have a great start into your first triathlon experience. Now, enjoy your first triathlon. Maybe do an inscription if you haven't done yet. And please like and subscribe my YouTube channel, and because then you can learn all about what you need as a newbie in triathlon.